I remember just being a little boy and walking through town, roaming around in my hometown, a small little village. And this one elder came and looked at me, and he said, "Who are you?" And I looked up at him and said, "Well, my dad is Dietmar and my mom is Krista." And he looked back and said, "Oh, you are a plier." I was the littlest one in a row of 4 pliers. So the nickname stuck with me, Shorty, in German. And it's so funny, you go back to town after a while and you have grown up, they still call you Shorty. So, who are you? What defines you? What makes you, you? And there is something unique about each one of us. We have our DNA, we have our fingerprints, we have our eye color. We have so different things that define us. Where and by whom we were raised, what work we do, whether we have siblings or not, whether we're Christian or Jewish or Buddhist or Muslim or agnostics, whether or wherever in the United States we were born or raised. So you can add to what defines you, what makes you, you. And there are always to your identity something that is given to you by nature or by God, that is your DNA, your eye color, whether you're male, female, gay, trans, no matter who you are, there are some things that are just given. You don't change them. That's who you are at the depths of your heart. And sometimes you wrestle with that. The other piece is nurture. So the people you hang out with, the friends, whether you practice a gift, whether you like something, whether you get immersed into something. So there are things given and things chosen by us, what we immerse ourselves in. And all these little pieces make us, in one way or another, who we are. Now, the one thing that this elder in that little village asked me, he asked me, "Who are you?" But the question implied also, whose are you? To whom do you belong? What is your tribe? What's your family? What's your clan? What's your nationality? What's your belonging, your allegiance? Where do you belong? And when Jesus comes to the river Jordan, and John the Baptist is there, and he immerses people into the Jordan and baptizes them for the forgiveness of sins, for renewal, for a renewed life of turning back to God. Turning back to God. That's the message of John the Baptist. And Jesus comes there to the Jordan with all the other people. And John sees him, and John recognizes that it should be the other way around. John says, "I should be baptized by you, Jesus." And Jesus says, no. Let's just do it as it is right now. And Jesus, by doing that and by being baptized, he embraces that he is human. He's human like all the others who gather in a row to come to John the Baptist. He says, Son of Man, human. I'm connected, I'm married, I'm part of the human race. I'm one of you. And then he's immersed. He comes out of the water, and heaven opens, and a dove, God's Spirit like a dove, comes down on him, and he hears clearly God's voice saying, You are my beloved. You are precious to me. I hold you in my heart. God is well pleased in him. And my friend, if you want to remember any one thing about today, if you want to remember and take something in deeply, deeply in your heart and soul to define who you are, remember, you're God's beloved. God is delighted in you. Have you ever seen a baby in mom or in dad's eyes, and mom or dad are gazing on the baby, seeing the beauty, the delight? That's how God looks on each one of us. We are defined by love. You are loved, my friends. And that goes really, really deep. That goes deep. Why? Because we get so many other messages. Some from our parents, some from others, some from employers, some from people who are angry, upset. We get so many different messages. One of the messages is, you're not quite good enough. You're not worthy. There is something wrong with you. Something is not right with you. We get it in different ways. And sometimes we internalize that message and we try to live up to a higher standard. We try to become deserving, to deserve God's love. And we work hard and we work hard and we work hard. And Martin Luther was one of those sages, one of those reformers who worked and worked and worked and worked and worked himself half to death, trying harder to be deserving of God's love. The shift, the change in his life happened with a switch, a change of heart, where he experienced God's grace. You are God's beloved. I'm God's beloved. I don't have to do one single thing to earn God's love. It made all the difference in his life. It made all the difference in the lives of many, many people that you do not have to earn God's grace. I remember a dear, dear friend from a previous congregation. I call him Harry. Harry was struggling on many levels. Harry carried a deep hurt in his heart, in his life. And the pain was so great that he tried to numb it. He started drinking, and he drank to numb the pain, to keep it smaller, to make it bearable for him. And at some point, with the help of many around him as he spiraled down, he found his way to AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. And in AA, he learned that it's by grace that he lived, that he is loved no matter what, that he is cared for, that he is worthy of God's love and of the love of those around him. Harry became one of the most loving and caring people for others because he knew what it was like to live down, to hit the bottom, hit the floor. And one thing that Harry one time told me is, and that stuck with me, Dietmar, do you love yourself as much as God does? Do you care as much for yourself as God cares for you? Do you value yourself as much as God does? Because I think at times we're very, very hard on ourselves. Often I think harder often than on other people. What does the shift? What makes a shift? I think to open up and to embrace that you are God's beloved, that will make all the difference in the world. I remember hearing about an African tribe, very remote. They raised their children just in their small village. It takes a village to raise a child, just like that. And as the children grew up, and as the teens grew up, there were some frictions. And some of them got in trouble. And when one of the kids really got in trouble, what they did is they took the kid, gathered as a tribe, and placed the child or the teenager right at the center of that group. And they shared with this youngster all the love and the care and the affirmation and the beauty and the wonder and the gifts that were instilled beautifully in this young person. Grandmother saying, I love you. You're so precious. You're so good. You reflect God's goodness. The aunt saying, I remember holding you, you shining, you being a delight. Granddad saying, you're so gifted with your hands. I remember us chiseling and doing the wood chipping. You're precious, you're so good. And hearing all the positive messages, all the affirmation, made all the difference for this kid. Because we want to live into, own that, and spread that love. So, who are you? What defines you? I hope and pray that at the very bottom, right deep down at your core, you listen deeply and embrace that you are God's beloved. So I ask you to repeat with me. When I ask, who are you? You say, I am God's beloved. Who are you? I am God's beloved. One more time. Who are you? I am God's beloved.